else. Seeing Brenny, Ivy.
Good morning, this afternoon.
Good morning.
Oh, you can hear me. Good. I'm
Yes,
sorry. My equipment has been acting up.
Holly.
Grand rising to everyone. And here we are. I had a huge struggle sleeping after working 24 hours straight. I slept very erratically, but I'm glad that's behind. Ready to start a new series of work days, working during the day. Yeah. And so I was reflecting about where we should pick up from next. And I think we will just add a tiny bit of, not a tiny bit, it's actually an extremely important piece to what we were doing yesterday. I'm just waiting for my camera to connect. Oh, good. It's connected now. It should be fine. Hopefully you can see me better than yesterday. Yesterday you're just seeing the teeth somewhere. Then there was a silhouette surrounding it. Right, let me expand so that I can see everyone. So I see we have Ivy, Brenny, Elena, James, Kimunto, and Victor on. All right, guys, we are ready to run. Today's session is going to be more of a conversation than as much of a presentation as we usually do. I would like you to be as engaged as you can. Make your contributions straight, as succinct as possible. Let's cover these pieces. We spoke today about one main topic alongside with another topic, the one that I started with before we went to the main topic. And the main reason to cover these two topics is because of how much influence they can have in determining whether or not we reach the goals we are trying to achieve. If I could label the focus of most of this week, if I could give it a title, it would be self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Guilt is a tool for self-sabotage. And we're going to look at how each of these elements of self-sabotage manifest and how we can begin to be aware of when it's showing up and start to retrain ourselves, because this is going to require rewiring. Every time I do those intense self-awareness sessions, I just realize how much work I have to do in terms of overcoming my tendency to self-sabotage. I believe that from the time I graduated from university to now, had I been more aware about how I was sabotaging myself, I would be in a totally new environment. Not just in terms of achievement, because achievement can be empty. Achievement can be an empty victory. You can be on the stage and you're being applauded and given all sorts of laurels and trophies, but you don't feel it inside. There are far too many people who sit in the graduation square, but they don't feel it. The family is ululating and very happy. They're even celebrating. They're enjoying the meals and the music. But the person graduating doesn't feel it. They're wondering, when will this charade end so that I can resume my life? So self-sabotage shows up in very unique and different ways from person to person. But at the end of the day, it's underlain by similar forces. So we spoke about guilt yesterday, and we spent a little more time on shame. You would realize that most of your contributions at the end of that talk crossed over between the two. It was not purely one, it was a mix of the two. So today, let's wrap up this conversation and bring it all together. And so we are going to speak about the 6 pillars of self-sabotage. The 6 pillars of self-sabotage. Why would an intelligent person who is sober and has all the energy set goals at the beginning of the year and they don't complete those goals? Why would we show up less than we are capable of in the jobs where we are employed, in the relationships where we are? Sometimes we have calls to return or proposals to deliver or write, but you just sit on it until a deadline comes by. And of course, when the deadline comes, you're not going to do your very best. But the biggest area in where we sabotage ourselves is just not acting on the things that we truly care about, on our passions, on our goals, on our growth. We are literally sabotaging ourselves. So the 6 pillars of self-sabotage, we started yesterday with the first two. Let me give you the list. Number 1 is guilt. Number 2 is shame. Number 3 is blame. Blame. Number 4 is imperfection. Imperfection. Put them in this order. So guilt, shame, broken. Guilt, shame, broken. Blame, unloved, imperfect. Number them like that so that it's easy for us to follow. There's just a way I have remembered them in my mind in that order so that it's easy for me to, whenever I need to think through them. Guilt, shame, broken, blame, unloved, and imperfect. So we spoke about guilt yesterday. Actually, put these premises under each of them so that you understand how I am thinking of guilt. So guilt, because I am guilty, comma, I should be punished. That is the psychological premise that is hidden under a lot of what we end up doing. Because I'm guilty, I should be punished. Remember yesterday we said guilt is about doing. Guilt is about, oh, I'm guilty because I did X, Y, Z. Shame, because I am ashamed, comma, I should hide. I should hide or suppress or conceal. You see, the difference is in shame, you are using the label I am because I am ashamed. It is part of your identity. Guilt centers a lot more around behavior and a little bit to around your capability. But shame, it is I am ashamed. So I hide. I do not show up in the places I need to show up where I can grow. I do not feel comfortable connecting to the networks that I need. I do not feel comfortable asking for how much I should be paid. I do not feel comfortable saying no when I'm being treated less than I deserve. I hide my needs. I hide my desires. I hide my brilliance. I hide my capabilities. I hide my discomfort. Somebody says something that is annoying to me, but I hide it. That's because when I was a baby, I was taught that I do not have the freedom to be angry. Have you ever been angry in the face of an African mother? She will tell you now let me beat you up so that you have a good reason to be angry. You are crying? Let me give you a reason to cry. You don't have a right to your own anger. Broken. Because I am broken, I should do everything I can to appear whole. Because I'm broken, I should do everything I can to appear like I have it together, to appear like my life is smooth. Because I'm broken inside, I have to create an appearance that things are going well. Blame, because I carry blame. I am to blame for how my life has worked out, and you'll see how that comes in. Because I am to blame, because I carry blame, I should carry all burdens. I should carry all burdens. I should make everybody happy. I should please everyone. I should not walk away from my peer group because they will not be happy. I should spend all my time worrying about other people and forget about myself. Because I carry blame, I should carry everybody's burdens. Number 5, unloved. Because I am unloved, I should be perfect. Because I'm unloved, I should be blameless. I should be outstanding, so that maybe, just maybe, I might be loved finally. Because I am unloved, I should give them a reason to love me. And finally, imperfect. Imperfect. Because I am imperfect, I should imitate those who appear perfect. Because I'm imperfect, I should imitate those who appear perfect. So there you have the 6 pillars of self-sabotage. I don't want you to start with yourself. I want us to just think about the people around us. When you look at these 6: guilt, shame, broken, blame, unloved, imperfect. When you look around the people in your circles, people in your community, by community, it's your nuclear family, extended family, and the people around you, people in your church, people at your workplace. Can you identify patterns that might be underlain by any of this? What I've tried to do is to give you premises that are straightforward. A lot of the times, each of these premises will have several other layers that you can discuss. Each of these is a topic that you can discuss in a 6-hour seminar all by itself. But just use the premise as a way to identify like a specific pattern. And I'm going to ask you to think through just for guilt. Can you identify, like, when you look around you? Because if you can't identify it in other people whom you can see, you can't identify it in you whom you can't see, in yourself rather, you whom you necessarily can't see. We think, I personally should say for myself, I think I see myself really well, but I don't. I actually see other people more comprehensively than I see myself. Guilt. Can you identify somebody you think operates from such a level of guilt? Guilt is about punishment. Shame. Can you identify people you know are capable of more, but they are hiding, they are suppressing, they are tolerating less than they deserve? The first is guilt, the second is shame, the third is broken. Are there people you know are broken and you can see how they try to appear whole? I'll give you an example. I was off Facebook for a long while, and one of my very, very best friends, she's she she lives somewhere in Africa currently. She had just broken up with her partner, whom they were almost getting married to. But from the time she broke up, for the next 3 months, she had some of the most beautiful photos of herself I had ever seen. I read through the content that she posted during that time, and you're like, I don't think she's aware of what is happening. It comes naturally for her to do it like that. But that is very easy for me to see in her. How about myself? And when I looked at every time I'd gone through something really, really harrowing, that is the time when I look at my diary, you will find that I have reset my goals. I have, I have to restart afresh. I have to, and it's underlain by a certain pattern. So that by doing that, you escape from the discomfort of that moment. Instead of that moment being a reason for me to discover that pattern, my mind, my spirit is doing everything to escape to somewhere else. Blame. The third is broken. Blame. Do you know anybody who tries to carry everybody else's burdens? They would go to any stretch to carry everybody's burdens. Unloved. Because I'm unloved, I should appear perfect. I should appear spotless. I should appear outstanding, extraordinary. I should appear incomparable. Do you know anybody? Finally, imperfect. Because I'm imperfect, okay, I have agreed. It's okay. I have agreed I'm imperfect. But now I have to imitate somebody else. I have to imitate somebody else. I should do things like so and so. And once this mindset it becomes almost habitual, then it's extremely difficult to even stop comparing yourself to other people because you don't even realize why you're comparing yourself to other people and realize the imperfection is at the level of identity. I am imperfect. That's why the premise under it is because I am imperfect. That's at the same level as I am ashamed or I am unloved. It's at the level of your identity. So that you can do the identity frames exercise a million times, but it's never going to be as effective as it would be if you did not have these self-sabotage patterns already present. I am imperfect, right? I am imperfect and I am capable. We'll keep fighting. And one of them has to win. If you start bringing up I am capable over and persist long enough, eventually it will win above I am imperfect. But otherwise, you should presume that I am imperfect is as strong as an oak that has an extensive network of roots. It's already established. The question is, how do you figure out, how do you go past it, bring out another as strong as it is? Because otherwise, no matter how much you learn, you will get to your 70s and 80s and 90s, and you are like, I lived a life less than I deserved. I performed less than I was capable of. I lived less than I could if I had given it my all. Let's have a conversation around here. My question to you is what what came up to you, some of those insights, what came up to you as you were hearing the descriptions of each of these areas and as you are writing down the 6 different pillars of self-sabotage? You could respond to that, or in which ways have you noticed self-sabotage manifest in your own life? You can start in any order. Dungi, Judith have joined us. So let's go. I'm going to call you out in order so that we don't waste time. Let's start with Victor.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Victor.
Okay. Um, Among the 6 pillars that you have mentioned, it's the imperfect pillar. That was the one that has I can say it has been a self-sabotage on my side. Um, every time you think you're not good at something, you waste time. Uh, in fact, anything I want to do, I want to read, get knowledge about it before I start. And
Yeah.
then I realized that I've wasted a lot of time.
Yep.
And I've been advised is even if you do not know everything, just start doing whatever you want to do. You'll know along the way. And many people like judging people with the imperfection thing, which is not a good thing at all because everyone is imperfect. No one is perfect. But because there's this group thing that people normally have, uh, I think these are the things, the people who destroy the society. Being in groups and making people feel that they're not enough, they're not good enough. And I've experienced this until I almost believed that So every time I try to prepare, I want to make sure everything is good, everything is correct. I get all the information, I get all the people and everything. But now, since I realize that even that person who is maybe even mentoring you has some flaws, and even can share to you with some flaws and say, you have been my role model and you have this flaws, so we are both humans, something like that. So that has been my relief. And nowadays I do things. It doesn't matter whether I know or not, as long as it's something I want to do and it's a goal in my mind. Whatever problem that will come up, I will try and solve.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The others, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, but this one is the one that really came out.
Yeah.
The imperfection. Yeah.
Thank you, Victor. I know being able to identify all the others sometimes could require a much more extensive discussion and exemplification. For now, we are just looking through to see, just to see which connects. Because if you can start working on one, that already is enough. Let's go with Kemuto. Kemuto, we
Is our
can't.
mic working today?
Yes, it is. Welcome back. Go ahead, Kemuto. We had you briefly, but now we are no longer hearing you again. I'll come to you. I'll come back to you. Let's go with Elena to try and see if it works. Elena?
Okay, so amongst the 6 pillars, what I recognize the most is shame. I can really uh, think that that is the biggest bulk of my pillar towards self-sabotage. And the other one is imperfection, based on my reaction to what feedback I get. I get that feeling that sometimes you're not the best judge of seeing how you're perceived by other people, but once you relate to others, they give you a mirror of how you come across. So that's the best course of feedback. So being in a relationship and things like that, there are those opportunities that open up your eyes to what kind of character that you are, that you're not able to see beyond yourself. Yeah, so basically it's the shame bit. I hide my brilliance. I'm the kind of person, I have a lot to share, but uh, even on social media, I really shy off of doing social posts and things like that. But I feel that I have a lot to share. So just basically around that shame.
Thank you, Elena. You can imagine that I have definitely dealt with that, especially there were a ton of times when I started speaking and sharing content when I would question myself, like what are my friends thinking? Do they think I feel like, oh, I know it all? No, now I'm trying to help other people. And yeah, so I know hiding your brilliance, hiding something that you love to do and you enjoy doing, but you feel repressed and suppressed from doing it. I totally get that. And yes, we are the worst judges of our own character and everything else. The one thing I wanted to mention under, just in response to what you said, we lose opportunities to see ourselves as we should be, especially in relationships. The question is, how am I going to get the appropriate feedback when I am doing everything to appear a certain way? Yeah, when the only time most people see each other as they truly are is after they've gotten married. They've gotten married, they've gone to honeymoon, then they're back. Then this guy wakes up in the morning and he belches loudly, and she's like, I didn't know you belch. Yeah, because the entire time we are putting an act.
I think it also depends on your personal values. Like for me, I wouldn't date somebody who isn't authentically themselves. So even in my work scenario, I look for organization cultures that people allow authenticity. That is very, very integral to my being. So even if you come pretending, I can see it from a mile away. So we're able to have the best of
Yeah.
exchanges.
Elena, there are people who have been acting until it has become their new authentic. There are
True.
people who are acting until it has become their new authentic. It's so they don't know that they are acting. The people who have been lying until it has become their new normal. So
Mhm.
there is the true story hidden, but there is the story they have told over and over until it has become the story. An example is I won't give you an example at this time. I will bring it up later because it has a whole conversation attached to it. Let's go with let's get the other people to contribute. Thank you, Elena.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor. We are waiting to have Kimuto back. In the meantime, James.
Well, I think this is a topic that requires a lot of attention and introspection from my side. But so far, with what I have here, I think I can identify aspects of broken. Uh, well, looking back, I see that I might have done something thinking it was for one reason.
Yeah.
Well, it was for a whole other one. And mm, yeah, I'm identifying a few scenarios that date back to the past 2 3 years, and yeah, I think that is the one aspect I can identify strongly and clearly. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Oh, it's very exhausting. It is very exhausting, and broken is one that I identified with when I started doing this work, and which I know I still have a lot of work to do. It's very exhausting to. I honestly don't envy ladies when they do makeup because it's a whole process by itself. But that is makeup on the face. Now, think about doing makeup on your whole self, from your mind to your thoughts to your inclinations, makeup on everything. And this is not makeup you come home and remove. This is makeup you need. You need it when you're dreaming at night, not asleep. You need it when you're waking up. You need it when you're with your family. You have to appear a certain way the whole time. I don't know whether that analogy makes sense, and I hope you understand that I mean it well. I mean it to show, like almost a tangible example. You
Yes.
where
Mhm.
where if you suddenly hear that there are visitors coming to your house, your heart starts racing immediately, and you start scampering all over, looking at the sitting room. How does it look? Running to the bedroom, hiding clothes that have been piled on your couch for 2 weeks. Now you're hiding. You're not hiding them because it's a good thing to do. That's which is something you will do, that remove the clothes so that there's space for them to sit. But the underlying reason to hide them and move things around and hide those dirty utensils in the drawer is not because it's a good thing to do. It is underlain by one of these patterns. That's why you're so anxious at that
Mm.
time, so that which is why when we were growing up, our parents, they have certain cups that only visitors use, right? And you don't touch those cups. And when our mothers sometimes used to be on their worst behaviors when there are guests around. Your mother is on her worst behavior. She is so pleasant with the guests, right? But dare you make a mistake, she will wink at you, and you know that wink is going to come with some beating later. Because she's recording, like, you did this, you came to the guests, you came to the sitting room, you came and touched the guests' food. You're just a 3 4 year old, you're excited, there are people around, but that's the time when you have to say so little, right? It's very easy for us to look out and see it on the other people. The question is, how does it manifest in our own lives? So thank you, James, for sharing that. And let's go with Brainy, then Kemuto, if you're back.
Is she back?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Then she'll come on.
So, sorry, that was a bit. Thank you for today's topic. That was really like deep soul food. And I'll start with guilt. I remember growing up, like in my family, we wake up in the morning to study. Like we always have to do something because my dad wouldn't just see you like, like sleeping or lazing around.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I'd really struggle with because I've always found myself like, even when I'm just supposed to take a nap, like I'll feel bad for taking a nap. I'll be like, I should be doing something. And I've worked on that. Now I just tell myself, like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take space and be myself and rest and move on to the next thing. And then on shame also, this I'll just refer this to my old self, like the old self. About shame is I'll keep around like friends that were not helping me, and I'll really feel bad when I cut off friends, bad friends, because I feel like, oh, I shouldn't have let that person go. But now I told myself like, if I'm not creating like healthy boundaries and healthy friendship, whether it's family or friends or love, and I feel like it's not resonating with me, it's okay to let go and just love those people from a distance. And then on broken part, I haven't had that. And then on blame is like this one I'll talk about family because I always have to feel like I have to be always there about always be there for my family. And then I realize I cannot pour from an empty cup. So I have to make sure I have to take care of myself before I take care of other people. Because if I don't know how to love myself, how am I supposed to love someone else? And this is the thing now I apply in my life. Like I cannot be around people who don't value themselves. If you don't value yourself, I don't want to be in my circle. I'd rather have two friends that I know we have healthy friendship, people that are always checking up on me. Like I have two of my friends. We're working on two like a different project, and they always call up like, "Hey, what are you working on your project right now? This is what I'm working on. Like, what can I help you?" And I really do appreciate that because back in the day, like I would just have friends that will come waste time, talk about things that are not like healthy.
Yeah.
And then on unloved and perfection, I was having a conversation the other day with my sister, and we were just talking about how she's been struggling with imperfection because she's like the firstborn in the family. And I realized like sometimes she can be going through like hard stuff, but she'll just wanna play cool, like things are totally fine. I'm like, no, it's okay to take a break and be okay about that. So that's all I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brainy. I like how you reflected across a couple of them. We'll go on with Kemunto.
Hello,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So on the pillars, the ones that I have identified with is the one for imperfection, the one for broken. Though for me, the end result is not really trying to appear like I'm perfect or like I'm whole. The end result is that I tend to hide, suppress, or conceal my strengths because of my perceived flaws, I think. And according to your sentence, it goes with the one for I'm ashamed. So I don't know what I'm ashamed of. Yeah. So I think that's what I've identified, and I may need to like really think about it and then package it more. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Kemunto. So I've been holding back from saying this as each of you are identifying, what you've linked to it. Remember the overall. If you take all these things together, each of them say there's something wrong with me, and I need something external to remedy it. It's just that when you express it in different ways, like I have done here, then it makes it easier for people to see how they connect, and then it goes back. So, for example, Kemunto, in your case, what you've given us can be, it crosses all over. It crosses, for example, from imperfection to shame, right? And it even touches on being unloved. Like, I am imperfect, And how for me to be loved, I need to be perfect. And for me to be perfect, I need to hide or suppress what is not perfect. So these things they connect. It's not that they stand each on its own. They are they are they are interconnected. The underlying sentiment is there's something wrong with me. I am not enough. I need something else to make me enough. Let's go with Judith.
Okay, so among the 6 pillars that you've mentioned,
Yes.
I think the one that I identify most with is shame. But I feel like it could be intertwined somehow with something else, because I think the reason why I find it hard, like I feel ashamed of something, so doing something or showing out myself, is because of previous experiences growing up, where when you want to voice out your views or attitude, like you're taken as you're showing off or something.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you tend to now retreat and be quiet, and you don't want to open up and share your ideas or anything. So it's something that it's, especially when I moved to the US, it's so hard because you come to a system where people really value contributing ideas and talking a lot.
Yes.
And then here you're there, you're laid back, you don't even feel like sharing anything, you want to hide in a cocoon or something. So it's kind of hard, and you're in a place where you really have to share just to be there with people and to converse with people, because no one really minds about what you think. So I would say it's something I'm still working on, and I hope that I can be able to break that pillar of self-sabotage, because I really need to be myself and be able to contribute and share my ideas with others. I can have an idea, but I don't know how to put it. I just go underwater with it. So that's something I need to work on.
Thank you, Judith. Don't I know exactly what you're talking about? We come from a culture where that's referring to having grown up in the African culture where silence is a virtue. And that silence sometimes is just trained by culture, but it's also the sentiment that who am I? Who am I to have such a great idea to contribute in this meeting? Oh, don't I know what you're saying? Thank you. Let's who had Ndungi. Ndungi we haven't heard from you.
Good day.
Hi.
For me, the 6 pillars of self-sabotage, I believe we've all done something because we felt guilty. Maybe we felt ashamed of something. We felt broken. We felt like we were to blame, unloved, imperfect. But this all boils down to understanding your human science. There's the self-concept, your attribute. There's your real self and ideal self. So for me, I think I tend to agree more with the brain, because she said she has great friends, by the way. Friends who check up on you. Because most guys, if not all guys, we have many friends, but we all have some. I tend to call them Friday friends. Those friends where the whole week you are not together, but on Friday 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You see your phone ringing, bro, what's up? It's another Friday. Then the weekend it goes like that. You never see them till the next Friday. And I believe we should move. I should move from that group. That group mentality thinking. Yeah, and imperfection. Yeah, imperfection.
Yeah. Thank you, Ndungi. Okay, Muto, yes, you have something to say.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes.
On this journey that you're taking for breakthrough and personal growth, I remember on the first days, it was all about self-awareness.
Yes. Yes.
So as you try to figure out yourself and who you are, is it possible that some of these things may actually be true. Like you can actually be aware of your imperfections. For example, you say like maybe I have a temper problem or something like that. So are we supposed to ignore some of these things? Is there a way you can twist it? I don't know. Get my question?
So you're asking whether this is a part of the journey, is the aim to be aware of and decide what to do with this, whether to overcome them or to ignore them or manage them. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have done a ton of trainings, and I always follow up with the students I've worked with to see how they have applied what they learned. And the pattern is almost always the same. It's just the same way we set resolutions at the beginning of the year. Excited about after the event or after a session that went really well, excited, you're feeling it, you're like, man, that was an amazing session. 1 week later, it's gone. And the reason is you have saved folders to a desktop that has a software whose functional elements have been suppressed. If you take suppression as shame in your life, so there are functions in your brain, in your mind, your abilities that have been disabled by shame. So if you disable the alarm, you disable the calculator, you disable receiving calls and sending messages, you put the phone on airplane mode, you mute it, right? You disconnect internet. You still have the phone. And now you can save songs in there and you want to communicate with people, but the software is turned off. It doesn't matter how good a phone you have. Does that make sense? Does that, as an analogy, make sense to you? If you have disabled, because that's what happens with this self, you remember it is sabotage. If I want to sabotage this phone, I will disable most of the functions, especially the functions. If, for example, calling people is a way for me to show myself or like call them, if I disable that function and then I disable the function of sending messages, then I disable internet so that I can't access internet and I put the phone on airplane mode. That's essentially what happens to us when some of these patterns are hidden and they are limiting what we want to tolerate, where we want to show up, how we show up. And so the journey to breakthrough is primarily about increasing awareness so that once you increase awareness, then you can look at those three ingredients, your story, in which ways does this show up, your strategy, what do you think you can do on a consistent basis that can help you move out of this, and your state. Your state is how will you carry yourself so that no matter what happens, you put yourself in an emotional state that enables you to continue following your strategy so that you can change your story. And it's going to take persistence. It's a daily thing, which is why if I'd wanted, I could have had this challenge for maybe 6 months and we're just meeting on Saturday or maybe on Sunday or maybe just once a week, but it doesn't work like that. It's a daily thing. You have to pursue it every single day. So Kemunto, so the first goal and the biggest goal is to become aware of how these patterns show up in my life, they show up in your life, to recognize them. And the recognition, the self-awareness is not a one go, it is a daily thing, which is why I strongly encourage you, make sure that all these notes you're taking from this training are in one place. So that then when you are reflecting at the end of the week, you don't just reflect, you also come back and review this knowledge that we are picking. Every day when you're showing up for this session, review what we have covered already. Let your brain keep seeing these things so that you keep, it gets to a place where you are thinking about it almost on an ongoing basis, right? I think everybody has shared. I wanted you to evaluate yourself now on these 10 items, right? These 10 items, and evaluate yourself and see, this thing has call it, just these are just manifestations, specific manifestations of self-sabotage. This is a way in which you can subconsciously become almost like a doormat. Just your life is coming off in a way that you wouldn't ordinarily want to put yourself in this kind of scenario on an ongoing basis. So just the question is, in which ways do I sabotage myself? And I'm giving you these specific ones so that you can move away from the 6 pillars. We will keep coming back to the 6 pillars, but you can move away from the 6 pillars and just look at specific scenarios. So write down these first items. Number 1, accepting stroke tolerating unacceptable behavior. Accepting stroke tolerating unacceptable behavior. So you're rating yourself on a scale of 0 to 100. And remember, just saying no to a behavior is not enough. Do you actually say, I don't like this and I would prefer to be treated this other way? And do you feel that you can specify that? Number 2 is assuming responsibility for other people's bad moods and bad behavior. Assuming responsibility for other people's bad moods and bad behavior. Somebody that you are close with, or maybe it's a partner or a parent or a child or a boss, has a bad mood, and you suddenly are looking for, what did I do? Or feeling like this, you are the cause. Number 3, blaming yourself for everything. Blaming yourself for everything. You are in a team and something goes wrong and you're wondering, was it me? Your project or your business falls apart, and it's important for you to find out what your contribution is, but now you end up blaming yourself for everything. Rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 100 and see where you fall. Number 4, accepting blame from others, even if you are not to blame. Accepting blame for other people, even when you are not to blame. Your partner or your closest friend has gotten involved in something, and now instead of them taking responsibility for their actions, you start being blamed, and somehow you start apologizing. The other way, the other way to express this is becoming a victim of other people's misbehavior. Number 5, do you continuously apologize? Continuously apologizing. If something happens and your immediate response is to apologize. I have been struggling with this one for a long time. Something will fall near me, and the first words that come out of my mind is, I am sorry. I have no contribution. And a lot of the Americans I work with find it weird. Why are you sorry? When I keep thinking back, I see where the pattern started, and it's taken a long time. I keep working on it, and I will uproot it for sure. I will. Number 6, allowing others to demean you by you staying silent. You allow other people to demean you, and you stay silent about it. Number 7, avoiding confrontation at all costs. You avoid confrontation. You don't want to confront them. Number 8, negating your feelings to accommodate other people. Negating or denying or diminishing your feelings to accommodate other people. Number 10, making yourself invisible. Making yourself invisible. Or feeling invisible. Sometimes we feel invisible because we have made ourselves habitually invisible. So making yourself invisible or feeling invisible. There is no right or wrong answer when it comes to reflecting around these issues. It's a question of becoming aware. So this is going to be the second round of reflecting. I want you to share which one surprisingly did you find, just one specific one. Which one did you find you specifically scoring higher than you would have guessed, scoring much lower than you would have guessed, please don't feel ashamed. This is one way for us to feel to face the shame. For me, it's apologizing all the time. Yeah. I would see a car almost hitting another, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm not responsible for that. So which one did you find yourself scoring way less than you anticipated? And what one action are you going to take to go beyond that? Brainy?
I'll say number 2,
Mhm.
assuming responsibility for bad moods and behavior for others. And I'll say that as related to my personal relationship. Like, yeah, sometimes if my partner is feeling down, I'll be like, it's probably me. And this is something that I'm really working on, like at the moment, because I always have to remind myself, like, whatever other people do has nothing to do with me. Because if someone like feels down, I'm like, yeah, I think maybe did I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Thank
the
you.
area.
Thank you, Brainy. James?
I think for me, okay, I believe that for me, the area that I'm struggling with, or the area where I had an unbelievably low score was is it low or high? Accepting, tolerating unacceptable behavior, and I guess I'm really struggling with that one. And what I can do is I can really begin to hold on to my beliefs, that if I believe something is wrong, I will stand up for that, and I will clearly state that this is unacceptable. I will
Yeah.
definitely be starting small. Um, for example, I will. Okay, I personally I don't believe in, or rather, I'm not really a big fan of parties and drinks and alcohol. So
Mm.
I'll occasionally get invites, and I'll be like, they'll say, oh, we'll go drink, we'll go do what, and I'll be like, I won't really be, I won't be. I won't be vehement for what I believe. I don't do it, but I won't be like, no, this is it's not something I can allow myself to do. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. I'll say, you know what, I'll go, but I won't do this, I won't do that. But I really believe that it's time for me to start going strongly
Yeah.
when approaching such situations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. Elena?
I'm conflicted between two of them, but I identify most with making yourself feel invisible or feeling invisible. I'm the kind of person who would join, let's say, a WhatsApp group, and I'm one of those silent followers until it gets to a sort of environment where I feel that I'm able to share. Even I'm amazed that joining this challenge that I started sharing as quickly as I did. I think it's because I was put on the floor. So that is something I'm really, really working towards.
Yeah.
Um, the other one is avoiding confrontation at all costs. It's very subconscious. Sometimes you don't even notice that there's a problem, but probably your colleague or your partner is the one who notices that there's a problem, but I wouldn't be the one to bring it up for discussion. I wouldn't be cognizant of that. Yeah, so probably working towards being more open to seeing how in my interactions are and what needs to be solved in terms of conflict or differences in opinions.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Elena. Oh, confrontation. We when you were 2, 3 years old, you couldn't confront your father. How can you confront? You know, remember, if you take physical stature all by itself, you are probably maybe a foot and a half. This person is 6 feet. It's like you
Giant.
confronting a giant. in your child mind, there is no difference between your father and God. They are all massive influences in your life. So this is
Mhm.
begin to become aware so that we can start overcoming those patterns already installed. Victor.
Um, the one that has really scored high is avoiding confrontation at all cost. But then I don't like confrontation at all. I don't like it. There's a time I had answers because arguing things that don't make sense sometimes just increase my anger.
Mm.
And since you have even mentioned that I cannot, he told me, "Hey Victor, you know what? Just go take a walk, then come back."
Victor, I would
So
like
yes,
I would like to clarify. So there is
yes,
confrontation, like argument, and so there is that part. The confrontation
yes.
I'm speaking about here is when somebody does something wrong, something that that goes against your needs and your integrity, right? Can you go to that person, not in anger, but to tell them that this it is you asserting your boundaries directly with the people who violate them. That is the specific aspect of that statement.
Okay. Um, Generally, anything that will require an argument, and especially when someone is not making any sense,
Yes.
that what really pisses me off. So I really avoid that. Anytime someone starts a statement that doesn't make sense, I keep away. I even leave that place because they
Yeah.
might say something that may trigger me to talk, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, that is the one that stands out
Thank you.
in me.
Thank you, Victor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I like that word you've used. They might say something that may trigger you, and I think everyone on this call knows what that means. You can imagine when you are 3, 4 years old and your mother triggers you. What do? You go cry alone in bed the whole night. You cry until you become numb. You don't remember those cries. You cry. And or you go around carrying that emotion because as a baby you don't know what to do with the emotion, right? And remember, it's not just about things that are bad that people do to us. Even loving gestures and actions can end up hurting us because they violate a boundary. There's a much longer conversation in there, and thank you everyone for sharing. Let's finish with those who haven't shared. We will pick this up. We'll see which session it will be appropriate to pursue this further. And Dungi?
For me, I think I score high on negating my feelings to accommodate others. Example is over the years I have a certain friend who we like go to concerts together. So
Yeah,
maybe most of the time, she's a lady, so
yeah,
the things she likes they don't necessarily appeal to me. So most of the time, I I buy tickets that for for concerts that the artist I can say maybe hate. I don't like their music, so we go there, have a dull time, go back. So all to feed maybe her ego and her needs. You must go with me. Oh, we must be together. So I think for me, what I can do about that is just understanding that I'm a human being too. I have feelings, I have needs, and I don't. I need to stand my ground on some things. And also, it hurts you financially because you bankroll on things that you don't necessarily need or like.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, thank you, Ndungi. I won't even add anything else. It's costly. It's costly to sabotage your needs and your authenticity and your integrity at the expense of other people access what they have. Judith?
For me, I think I even tried to score, but everything is just, I think all of them affect me.
Yeah.
I didn't even keep up like scoring anymore because like everything was right on me. So, and I would actually, like I tried to think like, how did I end up being like this? And I think like growing up, there's a notion that it's better to avoid like confronting situation and just be silent. So I'm that kind of a person who try to play safe. And that actually like affects all the others. You allow other people to demean you, you stay silent, you avoid confrontation by all means. And I think this is something that just happened like a few weeks ago. So
Yeah.
I used to work for like I can say like a bad employer or something, because she can argue with you out of nowhere and start shouting at you and you just keep quiet. So on that day after she shouted, I just resigned, but I didn't tell her the real reason why I resigned. Like I didn't like how you argued and how you were confronting me and for things that I'm not responsible for. I didn't tell her that. So she like got away with it, but she didn't apologize. But I think I should have actually told her what really led to my decision to resign instead of just moving on, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Judith.
Yeah, so I have a lot to work on.
We all have a lot to work on. The more aware we are, the easier the journey will be. Breakthrough has to be an intentional, deliberate, persistent pursuit for all of us, for us to get there. Kemunto? Kemunto, are you there? And it seems Kemunto is unable to come back on. So this is my assignment for today. My assignment for the first question for you is, in which ways does each of these pillars show up in my life? In which ways? So you are going to reflect. Trust me, you are going to find examples under each of those. And we expressed it in 6 different ways to give you room to become more aware. And then it will be very easy to see what appears under several categories. And aim to identify like 3, 4, 5, aim for 5, like 5 incidences. And instances, thinking about experiences that are memorable from when you were in primary school, when you were in high school, college, your workplace, some of those emotionally memorable experiences. That will give you a very easy way to identify the ways in which the self-sabotage pillars show up in your life. Number 2, identify a specific way, like what if you could do one thing to start making progress with one of them. I specify an action that you can take and express it as a capability. For example, it can be, I can stop blaming myself for everything, right? I can be happy, even if not everyone around me is happy. I can stop continuously apologize. I can stop blaming myself for everything. These will be some of the statements that you add onto your personal constitution, to your rules of operation, which the more you expose yourself, commit yourself to them, the easier it will be for you to overcome whatever you need to overcome. Then the second part of today's assignment is the 4 C's. The 4 C's. Track yourself. at the end of the day, track yourself in where did they show up. In other words, where did judgment show up? The more aware we become about how judgment shows up externally, the more aware we will become about how we use judgment on ourselves. So continue monitoring yourself on the 4 C's: complaining, comparing, competing, and criticizing. And remember, they are all underlain by judgment. And you are just developing your awareness about judgment as it shows up externally. And eventually, we will start applying it very deliberately on monitoring our internal judgment. Because everything that we have covered today, from guilt to shame to brokenness to blame to unloved to imperfection, these are all judgments we make about ourselves. What makes them influential is because they are not just mere intellectual judgments. They are deep, sometimes enduring emotional judgments that sometimes crystallize and create almost a permanent pattern. So we first have to become aware how judgment shows up. So monitor. When did you criticize? When did you compare? When did you complain? When did you feel like competing? Become very aware of those. Let's reread the 10-day mental diet piece if you feel ready to sign up, but reread it. If you are already on the process of doing it, continue doing it. Remember, the 10-day mental diet is for you to become aware of when you indulge and dwell on negative thoughts and negative emotions. So they will come up. So the aim is they come up and you recognize they have come up. If you need to do something, you decide what you're going to do and you let it go, so that you can read it from become occupying your time from you dwelling over it and thinking it over and over and over. I know that these assignments are heavy, but that is the heavy lifting we have to start doing to truly start making progress towards where we want to go. Unless anybody has anything, does anybody have anything that you would like to share now? Because otherwise we will conclude there and meet up again tomorrow. All right, that will be it for today. This have been 2 weighty days, but this is part of the work that we have to do, and to truly hold a mirror in front of ourselves and start doing the work, the heavy lifting work that we have to do. There will be one of these sessions when you will work almost entirely during that session in front of a mirror. Hopefully you will have a mirror where you are alone. We will figure out whether we'll do it on a weekend day so that you can be in your own house and you have a mirror and you do that work. And you will be ready for quite a session when that happens. But I think by then we will have made so much progress that even if it ends up being a really, really intense session, you will be ready to go through it and see what areas you can actually shine light on and make progress with. I am shocked. We are at 15 minutes past the, we've been here for 1 hour, 45 minutes. That will be it from me today. This is Dr. Jock Mogire from the House of Mastery. I wish you all an amazing day and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.